I come from a long line of fishermen. It's really hard to say whether my kids and their kids will be able to fish for lobsters like I have done. It's nothing like it used to be. The changes are not good for us.
This is not going away. In fact, it's getting worse. As a scientist, you see the results of your research, and you're like, I can't just put this on a shelf. People need to know about this. It's going to affect every living being.
My first time out on the boat, I think I was 7. I love it so much. My dad is like a perfect example of someone I would want to be. Like, I want to be someone who works hard. I want to be someone who succeeds. I want to give everything my all, just like him.
I'm a lobster fisherman. I live in Deer Isle, Maine. I got into it when I was young, and my grandfather, he kind of took me under his wing. So it's in my blood, you could say that. Lobstering has been really, really good for us, for me and my family. It's one of the most sustainable fisheries in the U.S. and in the world. It also teaches your kids how to work, you know? It teaches them what it means to work hard. I don't think we've got enough of that in life. We've been really blessed by it all.
It's not an easy job, and, you know, it's something that you got to be passionate about. It makes me really proud that she's into it, you know?
Right back there.
Lobstering is a huge part of the economy here. I would say 75–80% of the economy.
The past, 6 or 8 years, there's been a decline of lobsters. I don't know whether it's cold enough or it's not the right environment, but I'm really concerned about what it will look like for all these communities. It's a serious change.
I have to work twice as hard as, 10 years ago to catch the same amount. If lobstering wasn't there, what would these guys do?
Deer Isle is an island off the coast of Maine. You go to the supermarket and you know most people there. You wave when you drive around. And if you don't wave, you're not from here. It's a really special community. This is my home. I think there's no longer any place in the world that can be considered pristine. One of the largest pollution problems that most people are not aware of is microplastic. This is Long Cove, and I've always been really curious as to what the plastic content in the water is here, so we're gonna go out and sample. Oh, where does the plastic come from? That is the million-dollar question. Unfortunately, with microplastic pollution, it's really hard to find a smoking gun. Actually, it seems to be almost impossible to find a smoking gun. 80% of the plastic in the ocean comes from on-land activities, and about 20% comes from on-the-water activities. So it's our everyday things, you know, our clothes. Everywhere we turn, we're using plastic, and all of that eventually fragments and sheds into the environment. The scariest thing with microplastics is every single piece of plastic that we use has the potential to be thousands, if not millions of microplastics in the near future, and not quite understanding how those microplastics are interacting with animals, with humans, and what sort of long-term and short-term health repercussions they're going to have. Okay, sorry. Having a moment. There's so many cool, I feel bad. There's so many little zooplankton in here zipping around. My mom was a big ocean lover. Growing up on an island, I've always had a love of being on the water. As I got older, the more interest I had in the ocean and the marine environment.
Abby, went to school with her, and she was like that, super quiet, humble, kind. You know, she was more worried about everybody else, and she's just carried that on. I mean, I work in nature, and I respect nature. That's what I do, but I really don't think about it much. I don't.
All right, should we get into this? Make a mess? So I thought we could just pull out whatever looks interesting, and then we can look at it. Try to look at it under the microscope. So I don't know if you want to use the blunt forceps and try to pull out.
That?
Yeah. Let's get that poop. I was just gonna poke through this stuff, especially the stomach, and see if we see anything interesting. Have a look at that. That could be organic, but that's like a typical microfiber shape.
Oh, wow.
Microplastics are everywhere. They're not just one thing. Plastics have different toxicants and additives, forever chemicals in them. And they interact with the natural environment in different ways. A lot of the prey that lobsters eat contain microplastics. We are going to be dealing with human health effects associated with ingesting plastic. Microplastics have emerged as a pollutant of international concern. I rowed out in my little rowboat into Long Cove. Those samples showed what was sort of on the surface. Here is a fragment from tires, from car tires. Microfibers come from rope or textiles.
This is crazy that all of this is everywhere. Like, that's actually insane.
People call this era that we're in the Plasticine because looking back, I think in geological time, we're gonna see that we have coated the earth in plastic. And unless we make some pretty drastic changes, that Plasticine era is going to continue for a long time.
This seems like such a daunting task that it's almost like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, it's just kind of scary that my generation's gonna kind of have to like deal with it and try and somehow fix it.
In this day and age, there aren't really other viable options to fish or lobster without using a mountain of plastic. Each year, guys are putting out miles of plastic rope to hold their traps. But in terms of their options, is plastic or more plastic?
I don't know how lobstering would be without plastic. There wouldn't be many people that would think that we should go back to wooden traps, I can tell you. And I'd be one of them.
We don't have any other options. It's insane. What are we going to do to change this? This is where I grow our oysters. The writing on the wall is that the lobster industry is changing. It's not going to be what it has been. As an oyster farmer, my hope is that I could model a different path, a viable business alternative for people to pivot to so we don't lose that amazing depth of knowledge of the local lobstermen and people who work on the water here. These are our typical oyster bags that we grow oysters on the surface of the water with. But as you can see, every single piece of the gear is plastic. I couldn't continue just using all of this. I really needed to think about other ways to grow oysters that didn't involve plastics that I knew were directly impacting the marine environment and the ocean that I wanted to grow food in. Aluminum ranches seems to be a great way to go forward. They're repairable and forever recyclable. We got a manila rope on there. Mushroom buoys, they held things up, but they're just too soft. Cedar worked for about a day. Those fell apart. Failure. We started to hone in more on what was working. This past season, we used all these mesh bags in those ranches and grew a bunch of oysters really successfully. I still have a mushroom buoy that I grew in that first year. This has worked really well. It's stainless steel. That's what we start the babies on. It'd be great if someone had already figured this out. We're trying to make something that is accessible to the wider community. So folks can really reimagine what the future of aquaculture could look like without using plastic.
Just keep going that way. Go on the way.
The next 20 years, what does that look like? I think it's going to be a lot different. I do. What's going to fill that void in the community? I mean, where's there another avenue that we can go?
Where do you want these? Thank you. Thank you.
It's pretty commendable what Abby has been working on, and I like the idea of the aquaculture stuff. You start to have these conversations, you start to be like, you know, what's the problem? You're not paying attention to it. She wants to come up with solutions to these problems that man has created. I think it's great. I think you need more people like that. You all set? I find myself maybe thinking about that a little bit, like, you know, you could be better. I could be better. You know, we all could be.
If we don't want so much pollution, we need to be producing less pollution. We need more legislation around reducing plastic production. Here in Maine, we have an extended producer responsibility bill for packaging. A really important step in the right direction for putting the cost of producing this forever material on the producers, on the people who are creating packaging. My hope is that that not only will directly reduce the amount of plastics that are making their way into our environment, but it will hopefully help drive innovative solutions. We can no longer just rely on the consumer to deal with this enormous issue.
I want to be a part of the future in this town, definitely. And the aquaculture that Abby Barrows is doing and all of that, I really see, like, that's really, really cool. I love the work that she's doing, and I just think she's a really amazing person.
I want people to feel inspired to make changes in their own lives. Awareness is such an important step in making these lasting changes.
If you can take some of what she's doing and apply it to everything, it will make a difference.
Everyone's little things are gonna add up eventually, and it might not be, like, the change might not be right now, but in the future, if you start doing those things, it will. Like, everything is going to change because of the little thing you did.